Start here and talk just briefly about Ingenuity. I know you can read the slide for yourself. And later on, after this webinar, if you want a PowerPoint copy of it, I will be happy to send it to you. The easiest way to do that is just shoot me an email, rachel@ingenuitymarketing.com, and I'll have my contact info at the end here for you. So if you want a copy of this, it'll have more information about Ingenuity in it and what we do and how we help professional service firms grow. Then I talked about myself. There was a lot of bragging, so I'm going to skip that part. But basically, the highlights about me are that I really love what great content does for people. You know, in addition to my job here and all the time I spend hanging out in the online world, I also have a couple published novels out. So you can tell I'm a huge content fan. And I'm a big online fan. And so, you know, prepping this, I was trying to think of what makes me the most sad about cheating when we get it at Ingenuity. And the thing that makes me the most sad is when people go to someone else for services that involve the online world or content because they don't know we do it or they don't know how well we do it. So there's my personal cheating story. All right, so let's talk about you, and let's talk about your clients and how clients cheat. So how they cheat, sometimes they're farming out services to a lower priced firm. I put lower priced in quotes here because oftentimes the lower priced firm doesn't turn out to actually be lower priced. It may end up costing more in the long run because they have to fix something or the firm has a lot of time to get up to speed. But it's a common motivation for cheating. Or they're buying into the discount dangling large firm who will raise their prices down the road. But you can see the two of those, very, very price oriented. And then the third one is assuming your firm doesn't have the expertise or the capacity. So they don't know that you do it or they don't think you can handle it. And we'll be talking about how to address that in a little bit. All right, so that's how they cheat. Why do they cheat? So they think they're getting a better deal. And for a lot of your clients, it may be that they're under pressure to show they're getting the best deal they can. This is most fierce in the nonprofit sector, where nonprofits really have to prove, you know, we sent out the RFPs, you know, we're getting the best price we can. But it happens in any situation where you've got a lot of decision makers where someone's answerable either to, you know, a managing partner, to a bunch of shareholders, to a board. They're under pressure to keep showing they're getting the best deal they can. It could be they're just short on time. And number 2 and 4 kind of go together sometimes. They're short on time and they don't know you do it. So they don't have the time to look up all your services and see if you can do it or not, even if they like you a lot. It may just be, hey, we got to get this done. Call those folks down the road that we know can do this right away and get that done for us. It could be that someone else has been courting them and is doing a better job than you. My anecdote that you all couldn't hear was from someone who was telling me that they had connected on LinkedIn with just a business connection. They were just answering questions together, connected with this person, and then suddenly they're at this networking event, and this business owner that they'd connected with on LinkedIn is talking to their current accountant and pointing to the person telling me the story and saying, you know, she's been sending me a lot of good information, you better watch your back. And fortunately, their current accountant did not react well to that. But people can be intentionally courting your clients, or they're unintentionally. They're just connecting on LinkedIn or on some kind of social media blog situation. They're just putting good information out there, and it's better than yours. So you have to be aware of that. And then lastly, and perhaps the saddest one, is they don't know that you perform that service. And this is actually a huge cause of cheating, and we've got a whole section about it later in this presentation. All right, so that's the how and why. But then also, how can I tell? What are some red flags that your clients might be cheating on you? Oh, and before I tell you this, it occurs to me that you didn't hear me say that I love getting questions. So over on your GoToWebinar control panel, I mean, you used it already to say that you couldn't hear me. So feel free to continue to use that questions section to shoot me any questions that you've got during this presentation. You can ask them at any point, and I'll try to get to them as quickly as I can. All right. How can I tell if they're cheating? They make excuses for not meeting with you. So if they're not meeting with you, they're obviously not recognizing the value you provide. You want to schedule regular check-in meetings and make sure that you've always got ideas ready to share. And that's just a good practice. But in addition, even for people who have, maybe you've got your annual meeting set up, maybe you enjoy your annual meeting, and suddenly your client's pushing it off. They're just too busy right now. And that could be true, but if they keep pushing off meeting with you and are finding reasons not to meet with you, I would start to worry. Also, it may be that your relationship lacks passion. So the future should feel exciting. I hope you can see here that the roses are kind of dead and dried in that picture. That was the best I could do for lacking passion. So yeah, your future with your clients should feel exciting or anticipated. They should be eager to work with you. So you want to express your willingness to go above and beyond for them in your attitude, attention to detail, little gifts and acts of service, and we'll go into more detail about that in a little bit. But it's really easy when you're starting a new relationship with a client. We use the relationship metaphor here, but it really works with clients. You're starting, it's the first or second year with them. You're excited, they're excited. You're new, you're better than their last service provider. You get 5, 10 years down the road, and spark is not there. So you've got to be the one to bring that excitement into your client relationship and to make sure that they've got a reason to be excited to meet with you and to work with you. You may also find that they don't write, they don't call. So if you go a long time without talking to them, you might think everything's fine, but you're really missing out opportunities. We'll talk a lot about cross-selling, but they might have a need come up and they might not know to call you about it. So staying in communication. When we talked about making excuses for not meeting, that's a red flag, obviously, because they're brushing you off. But if you're in the they don't write, they don't call stage, you've just descended into apathy, which is a real danger sign. They may literally avoid looking you in the eye. If they're on their phones and computers or other people in the restaurant, you need to get out of the spotlight with the talking and get them to talk. Spend your time listening to them. Sometimes, and this happens because sometimes we get excited about what we can provide and we're just going on and on about it. Or there's a tendency, if you're feeling nervous about something, to fill the space. So make sure that you and other people in your firm are well practiced in terms of listening, and that you're able to sit back and listen and get them to talk and connect with you again. And I should add, this is especially important. Another reason they might avoid looking you in the eye is you might be a new person to them. Maybe they've been working with your firm for a long time, but you're new on the account. So when you're in that situation, you really want to make sure that you've taken the time to listen, to hear them, and to make that connection to them. They find more fault than normal with you, assuming you didn't just mess something up. Assuming you're doing the same level of work and no mistakes have been made, but suddenly there's this change of attitude. And what you want, the worst thing that happens, like they find more fault than normal and you get defensive, that's not a good way to go. This is a time when you want to be open to the criticism and listen for what's really true about it. Is there something that needs to fix? And sometimes we often find that with clients, once you really start to listen and hear what's going on in the remarks, what needs to be fixed may not be nearly as big as you think, or it may actually not be a negative. It may be a huge opportunity. Also, if they suddenly show much less fault than normal, assuming you didn't just do your best work, assuming you didn't just do the award-winning, most amazing thing ever, less fault can also be a trouble sign because it can mean that you're going into that apathy stage where they're not paying attention to you anymore. All right, so let's talk about, first of all, how to stop cheating before it starts. This is certainly the most cost-effective way to deal with cheating. And I'm afraid I didn't bake in a lot of takeaways for your personal relationships here, but if this does help any of you in your personal relationships, please send me an email. I'd love to hear about it. So how to stop cheating before it starts. These are some of Forrester's top trends for customer service in 2013. And obviously, providing great service is a really good way to stop cheating before it starts, because if your clients love you, then they're just going to want to stay with you. So one thing is that channel preference is changing, and clients expect to be able to use multiple channels. So if I'm working with you, I want to be able to look something up on your website. I want to be able to interact with you on social media if that's my preferred channel. if that's how I really love to get in touch with people. I want my emails to get answered in a reasonable time frame, and if I pick up the phone and call you, I really want to connect with a person. And you'll find, I mean, you know, for your own firm, often you're strong in some channels and not others. You know, some firms, they're great with phone, they're pretty good with email, the website's okay, and social what? You know, or your website's great, but it's not optimized for mobile. And then if you've got some Gen Y folks in your firm, they may be amazing on email and social, and they hate to pick up the phone. So make sure that you've really thought about making it so that your clients can connect to you the way they want. I mean, it's a good way to produce apathy and cause cheating, is to not let your clients get to you the way they want to. Clients are expecting more proactive outbound communication. If they love you, they want to get your emails. They want to sign up for your newsletter. If you're producing great content, they want to take part in that. And they want you to check in with them and make sure that they're okay and see how they're doing. Another trend is that collaboration is improving the quality of service delivered. We're just in a more collaborative age, you know, and firms that are highly siloed are having trouble with this. You need to be able to bring people across the firm, create kind of cross-functional teams to collaborate on clients when they need it. And sometimes the collaboration even extends outside the firm. Sometimes it's you making a great referral. And even though that's not bringing business directly into your firm, it's really making that client grateful and loyal to you. And then lastly, they want a holistic, personalized experience. So what they do not want, if you have multiple people on the account, they don't want to have talked to someone, you know, 9 months ago about something they were planning to do with their business, and then to call you up and find that you know nothing about it because that part of the client file wasn't shared. So making sure that whatever you use for record keeping, you're doing it in a way that you can create this whole experience for clients and that it's personalized to each of them. All right, so I wanted to drill down into some more specific steps for how to prevent cheating. So of course, be an advisor. We specifically use the advisor word here because that's meaningful to a lot of people in our industries. So, you know, you don't wait for them to call. Of course, you're going to be available if they do, but send them information that's valuable to them. And I know you all know this, so here's your value add tip on this one. How do you do that? I mean, sure, right, we can say send them valuable information, but you're busy. So an easy way to do this is to organize information by pain points. So you may have, you know, say 4 to 6 pain points that are the main pains being faced by the people in the industries you serve right now. And you can really easily see when you're doing, you know, you're reading around on the internet, you're catching up on the news, it's really easy to see, oh, stagnant growth. Stagnant growth is a huge issue for some of my small business clients. This article addresses it. I'm just going to send it out to them. And you can even create email lists. You know, here's my stagnant growth email list. So every time I get a great stagnant growth article, I'll send it out to them and say, hey, I know you've been thinking about this. You know, you just write a little note on it, send it right out to them. And it comes into them like it's a personalized email. You may have sent it to a dozen or more people, but it's a really fast way to be sending them valuable information and to feel like you're right there in the trenches with them. All right, bring gifts. No, not the kind that comes wrapped in packages, so that's not bad either. But this is more of what I was saying on the other page. Give them information and support that lets them do their job better and look like a hero in their firm or their company. I think sometimes, especially those of us who are technical geeks, and I completely fall into that category, we get excited about what we can do. You know, it's like, oh, check out this awesome, cool technical thing I pulled off. And we can take our attention off the fact that our real job is making our clients come off like the hero in their firm, in their company. You know, if they work for a municipality, if they're in a nonprofit, they've got a lot of stakeholders that they have to look awesome to. So if you think about it in terms of, you know, not only how can I do the best job, but how can I make them look really great? Is there a piece of information I can give them that they can pass along? That makes a big difference. Then, of course, I had to stick this in here because it's my passion. Quality content adds value. So from a Content Marketing Institute study in 2013, B2B marketers ranked articles on your website as only 3% more effective as a marketing tool than articles on other websites. Because sometimes people ask, you know, if I'm sending them an article from Forbes.com, what does that do for me? I mean, I'm not putting them back to my website, but you're giving them something valuable. So don't be afraid to pass on articles from other websites if it's relevant. You see my footnote here, unless it was authored by a competitor, in which case, no. Don't send them your competitor's articles. You know that already, but I had to put that in. Be memorable. So you want to make it easy to remember your firm name and your name and why you're different. Obviously, if your name is John Smith, you're going to have an uphill battle on this, or if your firm name is like 6 different partners' names that are incredibly long, hopefully you have a really cool acronym at that point. But as much as you can, make it easy to remember you, to remember your firm name, and to remember why you're different. And a lot of times people use all the same words. You know, we struggle with this in branding a lot. How do you describe the firm? Well, we're really good at service. We have a lot of integrity. My favorite story about this, we were working with a firm and telling them that, there's this list of words you're not allowed to use. And leaders was one of the words they weren't allowed to use. And excellence was one. And they were like, well, why can't we say excellence? I mean, we're really committed to excellence. And I said, no, you can't say it. It's used too much. And then myself and one of the senior members of the firm were driving through the countryside to go to one of their sites. And we passed a billboard that actually said, leaders in excellence. And it was an advertisement for a local crematorium. And that really drove home the point that everyone is using these words. If the local crematorium is a leader in excellence, your firm probably should find another way to say that. So make sure that you have great ways to talk about yourself and that it's really consistent, that everyone in your firm knows how to use those messages. And it's also, the added bonus for that not only is in client retention, because then clients know why they're picking you, but it also does help if they're referring you, because then they can easily talk about why you're different from other firms. Be available. Don't tell clients you're really busy, even though we all are. I know we are. Well, except for me. I'm not really busy, but I sympathize with everyone who is. But, we do get busy. So it's great if you've got a team approach around the clients, or you've got people who can access that holistic, personalized information, so that even if you're busy, literally like unreachable, they can reach someone who can help them right away. Okay, this might surprise you, but I recommend that you fish for compliments. Ask them. If you've got an annual meeting set up, it's a great time to ask, what do you specifically like about us? Because that can help guide you towards improvements, to other service areas, to ways to wow them. And another great way to fish for compliments is to do annual client interviews or focus groups, where you really check in and say, what did we do well? How can we do more of that for you? And we've actually seen in focus groups that we've moderated for clients of ours, there was one recently where one of their clients actually took another of their clients to task for not using more of that firm's services, because they're in this really positive environment where they're talking about everything that's great for the firm. And you have to remember that when you say we're great because of X, Y, Z, okay, reasonable. But when you get a client to say, well, I think you're great because of X, Y, Z, they will believe themselves more than anybody else. Everyone loves the sound of their own voice. So getting them to say what's great about you will really cement your position in their mind. And then show you care. So you want to maintain consistent client service standards so that every client's experience is great. And because I love statistics, I had to toss some stats in here. So 81% of companies with strong capabilities and competencies for delivering customer experience excellence are outperforming their competition. And that was taken in 2009. So that's at a time when outperforming was super critical. And part of showing you care, it doesn't just mean having a client service standards document that's sitting on a hard drive somewhere in your office. You want to create ways to keep the standards alive. So it can be a contest internally or a game. You can do acknowledgments. So, like at the start of a division meeting or a team meeting, or, however you meet in your organization, acknowledging some people who did great client service that week. And then sharing success stories. When something's gone really well with a client, that really helps with cross-selling. When people in your firm hear about great things other people did for clients, that increases trust internally. All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about how brand strength protects you from cheating. So definitely, well, here, I'll read you my quote that will set us up. So marketing today is difficult. There are 200 million people on the U.S. do not call list. Over 86% of TV viewers admit to skipping commercials. 44% of direct marketing is never opened. Roughly 99% of 0.9% of online banners are never clicked. And buyers wait until they've completed 60 to 80% of their research before reaching out to vendors. Those are that's bad news when you put it all together, because it means that the landscape is really, really crowded, and people are doing a lot of their research online before they talk to you. And you can see buyers and think, okay, well, that's my prospects, but to some degree it's also your clients, particularly when they don't know that you do a particular service. They may just be online looking up answers to questions and not realizing that if they asked you those questions, you could provide them with some really great services. So in the super crowded world, it's harder than ever to stand out and to answer the question, why you? Why particularly? Are they staying with you? If there is some big firm dangling a discount, why are they going to pick you instead of cheating with that lower priced option? And your brand definitely insulates you against that. So brand simply is just the customer experience created and evoked by a collection of images and ideas. I put Apple's brand up there because it's super recognizable, and it's about 30% of their overall value. So that contribution of brand is a direct monetary contribution for them. And definitely, I don't know how many of you have Apple evangelists in your lives, but I think it's a great example because Apple is expensive. And as I say this, I am presenting to you off a beautiful Apple laptop. And I did all the research for why I should buy some cheaper PC laptop. But Apple has a great marriage of their brand to their product. So they really produce amazing products, and they have a great brand that communicates to me as a buyer why. So I've been loyal to Apple now for probably a decade because their products just work. But their brand reminds me that their products just work. So that's kind of the magic that you want. You want not only to have great services, but for your brand to be communicating to your clients. Remember how great we are so that they'll keep choosing you. All right, I've got another cool quote about brand. A brand is the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that taken together account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. If the consumer, whether it's a business buyer, a voter, or a donor, doesn't pay a premium, make a selection, or spread the word, then no brand value exists for that consumer. So I really like this, talking about not only it accounts for why they're choosing you over somebody else. And here you say, Seth Godin, who's kind of one of the greats of marketing, says if they're not paying a premium, if they're not spreading the word about you, then your brand is not strong enough. And then some of you may have seen my cool profit slide, but I wanted to put it up again because I think it really drills down to why firms that are brand leaders, and this was done with professional service firms, they're realizing higher fees because people perceive that value. And I think you can see that here because the associates, the entry-level professionals, are getting 35% higher realization. And that's because they have no personal brand. They don't have the personal connection. So they're just banking on the firm brand, and it's really making a difference. So I would say that's a strong brand is a great way to protect yourself, in addition to kind of the enacted client service standards we saw in the last section. All right, lastly, cross-serving clients protects you from cheating. You'll see me go back and forth between cross-serving and cross-selling. I think cross-serving is a really cool way to talk about it, but I want to say cross-selling occasionally because that's kind of a hot button word. So I want to make sure I use them both. So you, of course, in your firm can use whichever one you prefer, but basically I mean the same thing when I say cross-serving or cross-selling. Here's a quote from the chairman and CEO of Wells Fargo. There are only 3 ways a company can grow. First, earn more business from your current customers. Second, attract customers from your competitors. Or third, buy another company. If you can't do the first, what makes you think you can earn more business from your competitors' customers or from customers you buy through acquisition? So, earn more business from your current customers. And here's some more cool stats. I love these. So this is has to do with how many services a client is using and the percentage chance that they will be retained over time. So one service, you're kind of on the skinny branches of client retention there. And when you get to 2, it more than doubles. And then it more than doubles again at 3. So you can see there's a huge incentive to go from 1 to 3 services. And then once you get up to 5, 98%. So by the time someone is using 5 services from you, you pretty much have a customer for life as long as you don't mess it up. as long as you keep doing the great things that had them get those 5 or more services in the first place. So you definitely want to be a firm that masters cross-selling. I don't know you did that. Huge, huge common reason for clients to choose another firm. You have to assume that your clients don't know the full range of services you offer. And a lot of times what happens is a little thing called the curse of knowledge, which means that you don't know what you take for granted that somebody else does not know. As human beings, we have a huge tendency to think that other people know what we know. And you work for your firm, so hopefully you know all the things that your firm does. Some of you might own your firms, in which case you really know what your firm does. And it's easy to forget. Say you've had a client for maybe 5, 10 years, and you may have never had a conversation with them about the full range of your services, or you may have expanded and added services, and you sent out an email and whatnot. And if they didn't catch it, they don't know that. So always assume that they don't know the full range of services that you offer. All right, so external factors for successful cross-selling. You want to, okay, number 1 is kind of obvious. Regularly communicate information about your firm's other services. It can be a little tricky, but if you have something like a newsletter or a blog where you're putting out regular information, that's a great way to just mention your other services. Have highlighter meetings to think of issues, and that's an internal highlighter meeting, pre-meeting with the client, where you're meeting with your team and other members of your firm who may be responsible for those other services to say, hey, I'm going to go meet with this client. What are some things that might be useful to them that I haven't thought of? Bring other partners or service providers to lunch. Demonstrate samples of work you've done. So putting case studies or testimonials on your website and your newsletter, et cetera. It's a great way, stories really stick in the mind more than just dry facts. So it's a great way to pull your clients in because they might think, oh, this is a cool story, and then put into their brains in a way that they're going to remember some of the other services that you do. You want to make sure your web navigation flows easily across service areas, and this is a huge thing I see a lot of websites do poorly, which is, you get into one service area. If you're an accounting firm, you get into tax. Or maybe you're a law firm and it's employment law. And once they're in that subsection, there isn't an easy way other than the top menu to get to other subsections of the site. So there isn't that sense, well, you're in employment law because you own a business. And if you own a business, have you thought of succession planning? Maybe we should talk about that. Maybe we should talk about estate planning. Maybe we should talk about related services. Or you're coming to us to do your taxes annually, but let's talk about our tax planning services. So find ways, go to your website as if you're a stranger who's a client of yours, and get into some of those deeper service pages and see if you're getting directed to flow across service areas to related service areas so that they can find out what else you do. And then you can hold educational or networking events for clients that highlight multiple service areas. So for example, you can actually do like a mini trade show inside your firm for your clients where they're encouraged to sort of walk around from table to table and see what kinds of different services you provide. Or you bring them in to network with each other, but you put a partner from different service areas at each of the tables to also share. So they're hearing about what you do as well as networking with each other. All right, internal factors. So a lot of the times people get nervous and weird about cross-selling, either because they don't like the word selling, which I put on the slide just to scare people, because they, I don't want to sell, or because they don't know about different areas inside your firm, or they don't trust the other areas. They don't think that the other areas are quite as awesome as their area. So it's a good idea to create opportunities for teams from different service areas to really get to know each other and to share success stories with each other. When they hear about how someone from a different area really came through for a client, it's natural to want that for their clients. You can also practice networking skills inside the firm. This is a great twofer if you have a lot of young associates or people that you really want to train up on networking. Have them network with the different practice areas inside your firm. They're learning networking and they're learning about what your firm does at the same time. And then make sure you reward the practice of bringing other firm members to client meetings. I mean, definitely historically in the legal services industry and in accounting, sometimes people have been not rewarded or almost punished for bringing other people because they need their book of business. They need to kind of keep their people close to the vest. So you want to make sure that you're set up with a structure that rewards people for bringing others in on the account. And then here's your bonus slide, advanced cross-serving. Stats again, 70% of customer experience management best-in-class adopters use customer feedback to make strategic decisions. So if you have a really great platform for client focus groups, talking to clients, find out what they want and see if you can strategically deliver more of it. And you can see compared to that 70% of the best-in-class adopters, only 50% of industry average do it and 29% of the laggards. And I know none of you are the laggards. All right, what if cheating is already happening? Oh my goodness, you saw the red flags, you asked them about it, and they admit they've been stepping out on you. So first of all, if you think clients are hiding something, it could be a trust issue. So you want to set up a meeting with them to survey them on various improvements that you could do. So really sit down. I really recommend ahead of time that you have a list of questions that you're going to follow. It's tough, if you think there's a trust issue or there's been a service issue or something bad happened, it is really hard not to get defensive. So if you have to bring somebody else, you can even, if you need to outsource some client interviews, you can do that to get a neutral interviewer. But you want to get someone to go to really talk to the client, really listen to them, and find out what the issues are that may have driven them to another firm. And so that's the point of preparing those questions in advance. You can just keep going down your list of questions, even if you're freaking out a little bit. Just get the answers to all those questions. And then if you have to, go back to your firm and think about it. And then come to them with whatever offer you've got. All right. So then what to do about it, part 2. It could turn out that, like we talked about, they're cheating because they didn't know that you did it. In which case, hopefully, first I would say you got to look internally actually and see if maybe someone didn't suggest these services because they don't trust that service area. Make sure everyone internally knows about it, that your website clearly promotes it. And then, you can have a really straightforward conversation with that client about, we would have loved to get this business from you. In the future, what would it take? What would it take to have, because clearly you enjoy working with us. All right, good content also woos clients. Once again, you see I cannot resist the statistics. So this is, again, from the Content Marketing Institute. The top goal for organizational content marketing in B2B firms this year was brand awareness. So what that means is firms are creating content, and the #1 reason they're creating content is brand awareness. So if you've got some great content, you can make some great content, and you think that one of your clients is cheating, it might just be time to put a campaign together to be like, okay, we're going to make sure that we're sending articles, we're sending content that really drives home for them what we do, what our brand is, how we're different, and gives them the kind of valuable information they need so that we can kind of bring them back into the fold. And this is also a place where really focusing on content that makes them look like a hero can be a way to warm them back up to you. In person, still important. This slide is just for your Generation Y folks at your firm. B2B marketing events as the so if possible, if you've got, see if you can meet with them in person, even if you don't want to. Bring someone with you from your firm if you have to, but really sitting down and listening to what happened. And I've got a cool slide about that for you, how to listen. This is a big mistake people make when cheating has happened. and they're lucky enough to get a meeting where you're actually going to talk about the cheating, is like then you freak out. You get defensive, you don't listen, all of that. So how to listen. Have your list of prepared questions and topics, but don't spend all your time looking at your list. Don't think about your notes too much. Make a lot of eye contact. As they say things, jot them down, jot down new questions that come up in your head. Don't try to keep anything in your head. You don't want to be trying to remember something when you're really listening to someone. So if you have new questions that come up, just scribble them down and keep listening. Keep taking notes. You can ask for pauses. People actually really appreciate it when you say, hang on, I want to make sure I get that down right. Or repeat ideas back to them. Here's what I just heard you say. Is that accurate? And be comfortable with silences. This is a reporter trick I learned back in the day. People like to fill silence. So if someone's not being as forthcoming as you want, feel free to just take a pause for 30 seconds. Try this in your firms, actually. You just hang out with each other and try to have like 30 seconds of silence. You'll see how hard it is. And it's a great way to get someone to talk if you do it in a friendly way. Because often we ask a question and maybe someone says a few words and you know it's not enough. Be comfortable with that silence and let them keep talking. And some of you already know how to do this, but are you sure you've trained everyone on your teams to do it? Because this is important both for meetings with clients about cross-selling to them, about making sure they're happy, and then, after the barn gate is open and the horse is out, you still want to talk to them about why did you choose this other firm, do it in a friendly, open way. How can we meet all your needs in the future? What can we do for you? If you come to that in an open, listening way, that can be a wonderful conversation. A couple other bits about interviewing. So if they're not saying very much, ask open questions instead of yes, no. Let there be silences. Re-ask the question another way. If any of you have seen our interviews when we interview clients, there's a couple things that we ask 3 or 4 different ways, so that if the first time the person didn't say very much, maybe we can catch it if we ask it another way. If they keep changing the topic, listen for a bridging subject, bridge them back, ask them what else, or if they seem very nervous, because this can be kind of an emotional thing if you busted them cheating. If they seem nervous, let them ask you questions first until they have settled down a bit, and you can really have a conversation. And I think we're living at a time now where the pressure to cheat on your service firms is very high. The pressure to compare, to choose based on price, there's a lot of that out there. So understanding the kinds of pressures that our clients are under, maybe to have multiple firms to be choosing from, to pit firms against each other, to choose based on price. Put yourself in their shoes a little bit, and that will help you come in with a more open style rather than a more defended style. And then to really just lead a conversation in the direction of, okay, let's talk about what you're facing. Let's talk about how we can do this for you. And to keep that conversation going so that over time they can bring more and more of their service needs to you and get to that 5 or more services level where pretty much you're going to have a client for life. So that's the bulk of why, how, and how to prevent clients cheating. I haven't gotten any questions during the conversation. I'm assuming that was because either you were all furiously taking notes or you're playing games on Facebook, possibly a little of each. No, I can see on my dashboard you're not multitasking me. Awesome. So do you have any questions now? I'm going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. But are there any specific questions or situations that people are struggling with? I won't reveal your name. Feel free to send them to me. And then also, while I'm saying that, I'm just going to put this is my email, and there's my Twitter up there if you want to email me or tweet me. You can email me for a copy of this presentation, or you can tweet me for any reason, really. You can just tweet me to say, hey, what's Twitter for? So you can get in touch with me with questions after this presentation. And then also I want to encourage you, I'll put my email address back up in a second, but I also really want to encourage you, Ingenuity has an amazing newsletter, and we don't send it out very often, usually 3 or 4 times a year, because we only send it out when we actually have something to say. And we don't want to inundate you, but if you haven't signed up for it, you can sign up on our website, ingenuitymarketing.com. That's a great resource. And then also I'm doing the December webinar as well, the one about having an online presence. That's awesome. So if you haven't signed up for that, that's going to be really exciting as well. So I encourage you after this is over to go sign up for the newsletter, and if you're interested, check out the December newsletter, which is also posted on our website. All right, there's my email address again. I want to thank you all very much for attending. Again, you can send me questions, thoughts, whatever, case studies, problems. I love all that. And thanks so much for taking the time to spend some time this afternoon with me thinking about how to make life better for your clients and how to grow your firms, because those are some things that I love to see happen. I hope you have a great afternoon and early happy holidays.